So today is the big day, and I want to give everybody a couple of words of encouragement. So first and foremost, if you are in a Super Tuesday state and you're watching this video before having voted for Bernie Sanders, I don't know what you're doing. Get your life together. Go vote for Bernie Sanders. Go do it ASAP. I don't care if you have to, wait on a line that's an hour and a half. Got to get it done. Go get it done. Okay, so now before I get to some uplifting words, I want to say a big thank you to Jacobin. I want to say a big thank you to Bhaskar Sunkara and Connor Kilpatrick. They wrote in a really, really, really nice piece on me. It was, a profile. I usually don't like talking to the media, and, I'm slightly paranoid in the sense that they always treat the left either in a dismissive fashion or an unfair fashion. But when you talk about left-wing outlets, print outlets like Jacobin or like, Nathan J. Robinson's Current Affairs or The Nation, when you talk about these kinds of outlets, I think they're a lot more objective. I think they're a lot more fair. And I knew I'd get, a decent portrayal of my own story through them. So I spoke to them. I read the piece earlier. Almost brought a tear to my eye. I feel very humbled. The fact that anybody would want to write a profile on me at all is stunning. I just feel like a dude who yaps and runs my mouth on a daily basis. I don't think I'm anything special. So, again, a big thank you to everybody over at Jacobin. I'm going to leave the piece in the video description box here. So please, please check it out and, share it around. And also, if you wouldn't mind, if you could send, a thank you to Jacobin as well in a tweet or whatever, and Connor Kilpatrick and Bhaskar, I'd appreciate that. I'm going to leave their Twitter handles below as well. So again, a big thank you to them. I really appreciate it. And I will continue to avoid mainstream media when they reach out to me, and I will continue to try my best to uplift left-wing print outlets, because I know, what it's like to be a left outlet that's kind of like just talking into the wilderness and not knowing if it's landing. And then thankfully I was lucky enough where the show caught on, and I really hope that these left print outlets are financially stable and doing well, because I think their voice is needed. So I like to support them however I can, and obviously they're doing their job to support independent left media as well. This is they did a profile on me, but before that they had done a profile on Crystal Ball and Rising and Hill TV. So I think they're doing a wonderful job. I also want to say big thank you to Glenn Greenwald and to Michael Brooks. I honestly had no idea that they had spoken to Jacobin for the article. And, when I saw that they were quoted in the article, I was like, whoa, I was taken aback. And, I'm just very grateful that they were kind enough to speak to them about me, and then also say the kind words that they did. So big thank you to my friends, Glenn Greenwald and to Michael Brooks. And obviously check out their work if you haven't yet either, but I'm sure all of you have, or the overwhelming majority of you have. Now, okay. I'm nervous. I'm nervous, and I'd be lying to you guys if I said that today was for anything other than self-care for myself. Didn't sleep well last night. I know how big the stakes are today. I had to try to take the edge off and calm myself down earlier, so I woke up, I went, it's like 50, it was like 53 or 55 degrees here in New York, so I went and I hit some golf balls, I got some Five Guys burgers, and, that helped take the edge off a little bit. Got my hair on fleek, if you can't tell, that helped take the edge off too. Just, a little bit of self-care to make sure that we're good as the results roll in tonight. Now, what I want to tell you guys is this. You can't really have any regrets when you've done every single thing you possibly could in order to get the outcome you want. And one thing I know for sure about Bernie Sanders' campaign and his movement is that we all stopped at nothing to get him into the White House, to win this primary, to get to the general election and then take down Trump. Bernie Sanders is probably one of the hardest working politicians I'm familiar with, and I've been following this stuff closely for, well over a decade at this point. So there's nothing to fear because there was no stone that was left unturned. Now, it would be a different story if we half-assed it this entire time, and then we turn around on Super Tuesday and we're like, oh, man, well, we half-assed it. Let's hope for the best. And if you do poorly in that situation, then it's on you. But I can say with absolute certainty that Bernie himself, everybody in his campaign, everybody around him, all of his surrogates, everybody in his movement, everybody who canvassed for him and called for him and texted for him, everybody worked so hard. So if the results don't end up like we want them, we still have to walk away from this with our chin up and with our pride, because we really did do everything that we can. Now, at the same time, I want to say this. Defeatism is not an option. And you guys have heard me tell these stories before, but one of my favorite stories of Tiger Woods is that he won a tournament and then he spoke to the media a little bit, and then later on that day, he was on the range. And people were like, what are you doing, man? You just smoked the field. You just won by 8 strokes. And Tiger's like, you can always get better. So to him, the reaction was duh. Oh, okay, it didn't go as I wanted? Or it did go as I wanted? Well, I got to get more involved. Not less involved, I got to get more involved. So the answer is always get more involved. And, we have to beat back the instinct and the urge of defeatism, because even on days where, it doesn't go our way, the reaction from right-wing forces and corporate Democrats is, oh, all right, we'll get him next time. But there is something that seems to happen on the left, which is an urge that we have to fight off, which is, man, if it doesn't work, why am I even trying? I'm just going to check out and live a dark, nihilistic life and check out of politics and not get involved and give up on the system because it's so messed up anyway. But there's a fatalism in that worldview which I don't think is reflective of reality. If you keep showing up, they can't deny you. If we keep showing up, they can't deny us. And that's with anything in life. No matter how biased the system is against us, no matter how down and out we feel, if you keep showing up, they can't deny you. I know with the show that, when I started doing it and I'm talking to myself for basically 2 years and nobody cares what I have to say, the one thing you could always rely on is, I'm not going anywhere. I don't even care if you like it or don't like it. I'm going to be right here, and I'm going to be running my mouth, and you could either watch or not watch, but it's going to happen. And I'm going to keep doing it. And I will not be denied. At some point, I'll break you. And that has to be the mindset of the movement. That has to be the focus of the movement. Now, listen, it sounds almost like the messages I'm delivering today are for a scenario in which, what if it doesn't go well? But, listen, there's really no scenario that is devastating for Bernie today. Absolute worst case scenario, him and Biden come out tied in delegates, which is unlikely, I think, even with this Biden surge and the coalescing of the centrists around him. Chances are Bernie will have either a small delegate lead or a medium delegate lead, and then there's an outside chance of him having a major delegate lead. But I think he'll win probably about 10 of 15 contests. That's including American Samoa, so more like 9 of the major contests. And, we fight on no matter what. They can't deny us anymore. Guys, we are ascendant. Do you really think that Joe Biden and his ilk, make a long-term bet on the neoliberal corporate centrists. No, nobody would make a long-term bet on the neoliberal corporate centrists. That's insane. Because, Hillary Clinton already lost to Donald Trump in 2016. So we know that the status quo loses to fake populism. And the Democratic establishment is still lining up behind the status quo. Let's go back to normal. And no matter what happens, they're on borrowed time. The clock is running down. FDR-style New Deal Democrats are coming back. Social Democrats are coming back. More people are getting involved in the political process. And we need to, however well we're doing or however poor we're doing, we just got to press harder and get even more people involved. Get more non-voters, get more independents, get more former Trump voters to flip to us. We can't stop because, again, the stakes are too high. You don't have the luxury of checking out of electoral politics when 45,000 people die every year because they don't have access to health care. You don't have the luxury of checking out of electoral politics when nearly 80% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. You can't check out of electoral politics because we're bombing 8 different countries right now. And, every president who nominally said, I want to get out of these conflicts, ended up increasing the conflicts. So we don't have that luxury. And no matter what happens, we fight on. So am I nervous for tonight? Yes. Do I know what's going to happen? No. I don't think anybody really knows exactly what's going to happen. Because we don't know the degree to which this post-South Carolina bump is real for Joe Biden. We don't know how well he's going to turn people out. And, listen, like I said, Bernie Sanders has had a tremendous ground game. And he's been campaigning like crazy in virtually all the Super Tuesday states. And Joe Biden has been, relaxing and watching football and not campaigning in any of the Super Tuesday states. He had one office in California to Bernie Sanders over 23 he has. Bernie's been for months in Texas trying to get people involved and turn out the vote and do rallies. And really what we're facing now is it's a divide in the Democratic Party. It's a wealth divide and a generational divide. Those are the fault lines in the Democratic Party. And, for Biden, is the South Carolina bump real? And just how much will there be, a counterattack from the normie Democrats? But no matter what, they're hanging on for dear life. And I don't care what happens today. I don't care what happens in the rest of this election. We will not stop fighting. And we're going to change hearts and minds. We're going to get people on board because what we're talking about is very basic and straightforward, and it's just catching the United States up to the rest of the developed world. Whether it's, Medicare for all, free college, a living wage, ending the wars. We need to fight climate change with a Green New Deal. We need to legalize marijuana and free nonviolent drug offenders. We need to raise taxes on corporations and the rich. These are all very, very basic, straightforward policies that can have a tremendous effect in improving people's lives. Even something as simple as paid time off. And we know Bernie Sanders stands for these things. And Joe Biden stands for Dickie McGeezax. What's he going to change? He's not going to change anything. And furthermore, you want to have the conversation about electability? Because that's usually what Biden's people go to. Oh, yeah, he's got to be more electable because we say so. Based on what? Bernie Sanders, the only way to defeat Donald Trump, the fake populist, is with a real populist, not with the status quo. Bernie Sanders does much better in the polls against Trump than Joe Biden does against Trump. And we know how weak Joe Biden is. He can, honestly, guys, keep it real, he could barely put together a coherent sentence. He can barely put together a coherent sentence. Just the other day, he messed up the Declaration of Independence. And it was cringeworthy to watch. All men and women are created, and you know how the thing goes. This is your guy, a guy who voted for the Iraq War and every single outsourcing deal. This is your guy, a guy who's got 1,000 scandals, with his son and Ukraine and corruption and making sure his family got paid in sketchy ways. This is your guy who openly advocated for cutting Social Security. Donald Trump is not going to let him off the hook for any of that stuff, and he's going to pummel him. Only Bernie can beat Donald Trump. Only Bernie has a chance of beating Donald Trump now. So I don't care what your main concern is. If your main concern is electability, it's Bernie. If your main concern is a populist progressive agenda, it's Bernie. You go down the list, and any objection you have, the reality is it can be flipped right back on you because Biden is the weaker candidate across the board, and he doesn't stand for a social democratic philosophy that would improve this country and improve this world and improve countless lives. So again, no matter what happens, we will not be denied. We will keep fighting back. And we fought so hard to get to this point. And remember, guys, we're closer than we've ever been. And everything the establishment is doing right now is desperate. It's desperate. Mayor Pete had to drop out and endorse Biden. Amy Klobuchar had to drop out and endorse Biden. By the way, Obama made phone calls behind the scenes for that. I'm sure they were promised a position in the administration or something. And then Beto O'Rourke, they trotted Beto O'Rourke out to endorse Biden. That's a last-minute desperate attempt to try to get Texas to go to Biden when preliminary early voting is showing Bernie is killing it in Texas. So all of that, the reason why it's the Empire Strikes Back at the last second is because they're desperate. And we are closer than we've ever been. So keep your head up, because nothing worth doing is ever easy. I want to repeat that. Nothing worth doing is ever easy. It's always hard if it's worth doing. And I think you and I both know transforming this country is worth doing. We will not be denied. And all I can say is go Bernie, and I hope that everybody gets out there and votes for him and does whatever they can to get him over the top, because we will have, a better idea of what will happen in the rest of the race after today. Because you got 14 states voting and American Samoa, so 15 contests. We're going to have a really good idea. What are we looking at here? Are we looking at like a dead tide race? Are we looking at a Bernie plurality, in which case we have to go to Milwaukee and fight for him to be the nominee if he has the most votes? Or are we looking at a majority for Bernie and taking it on the first ballot? That's the ultimate goal. I don't know if we could get there, but we have to fight for it. Because this is the moment we've been waiting for. We have the candidate, we have the movement, and now it's just a matter of beating back the reactionary forces. And we have the enthusiasm. They have nothing but the media hype, the status quo enthusiasts, and the default support, the normie Democrat support. Let's go do the thing, man. I'll be watching the results roll in just like you guys will. I think I will probably do maybe a breaking video or two later tonight just to give you guys some of the results. We won't know for sure Texas and California tonight because more votes keep rolling in because they have early voting, and I think they finish counting in the week after. But in many of the other states we'll know, and we will have a general idea of the margin in California and Texas. So, we're all nervous, but right now what we need is courage, we need leadership, and we need a relentless approach where we never give up and we keep showing up, and eventually we'll win and we can't be denied.